It is widely known that the game Marvel's Avengers was a huge disappointment, and now Square Enix is washing its hands on it and passing the blame onto someone else. Hi, welcome to Zgaju Review. Marvel's Avengers, the game that had so much promise because it had all the Avengers in one game. It was supposed to be this huge, successful game that had nothing to do with the movies. And some people say that that was a mistake, in my opinion. It wasn't. You need to have a game that isn't related to this vast universe that has to do with the movies. This game came out a year ago, September 2020, actually a little over a year ago now. And it wasn't what people thought it was going to be. It did not set the world on fire like Square Enix expected to do. And people know why the game failed. Square Enix somehow has decided that it wasn't because of the game, but it was because of the studio. In this case, Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics is the studio best known for the Tomb Raider games, and this is the studio that was tasked with making the Avengers game. And yes, you could say that Crystal Dynamics, being the studio that made the game, is at fault if the game didn't perform the way they were expecting it to perform. But in my opinion, that is not exactly how it works, because you have Square Enix, the parent company, telling the studio below it that's making said game on what that game needs to have and how that game needs to perform and all the features that they want to cram into this thing. So it's not 100% Crystal Dynamics' fault. It's not like Crystal Dynamics got the franchise and said, hey, shut up. We know what we're doing. We're going to do whatever we want to do. Square Enix, you just put the money and we're working on it. Because that's not how it works in the real world. So now Square Enix is kind of washing their hands and saying, hey, look, the game didn't perform not because of our input, but because Crystal Dynamics sucks and does not know how to make a good game. And this is pretty much what was said on an annual report by Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda. So I'm going to go ahead and read you the full statement and stop as I read to give you my thoughts, because there's a lot of things that are said on this statement that, in my opinion, are unfair towards Crystal Dynamics. Now, Crystal Dynamics cannot be that bad of a studio. If they were able to revive a franchise, in this case being Tomb Raider, make 3 games out of it, and be a moderately successful franchise. Granted, Tomb Raider has never sold billions of copies because it is just not the type of franchise that it is. I think they were pretty successful within what they made. And also, Crystal Dynamics cannot be that horrible of a studio if Xbox is collaborating with them on the upcoming Perfect Dark game, which is set to release sometime next year, I'm assuming. Marvel's Avengers was an ambitious title for us in that we took on the games as a service model, Matsuda said. We overcame a variety of unexpected difficulties in the final phase of the game's development, including needing to transition to work from home due to the pandemic. We were able to surmount these challenges and release the game, but it has unfortunately not proven as successful as we would have liked. I wish that people will stop blaming the pandemic on everything that has happened within the gaming industry. Yes, things got delayed because, figuring out how to do your work from home and stuff like that. But all that should have impacted a business in what, like the first 3 months, the first 4 months, which, yes, then work gets pushed back 3 to 4 months down the line. But that doesn't make something an impossibility or something an excuse for your game not performing the way it should perform. The reason why your game didn't perform is just because it wasn't a good game. Nonetheless, taking on the games as a service model highlighted issues that we are likely to face in future game development efforts, such as the need to select game designs that mesh with the unique attributes and tastes of our studios and development teams. So what you're saying is that a game can only be made correctly or made well if the studio likes that type of game, because I don't think that's actually how it works. A studio, well, yes, they might have preferences on things that they want to work on. I am 100% sure that the people in that studio are capable of tackling any project that is given to them. While, yes, for example, RPG studios will do much better at an RPG type game than a first person shooter, I don't see that a studio that makes RPGs wouldn't be able to make a first person shooter. I actually think that a studio that is exclusively making RPGs could bring something to the table different to a first person shooter that other studios that only do first person shooters wouldn't be able to bring or wouldn't think about bringing because of their background on first person shooters. So that is total BS. And also a problem when it comes to making games in the future and creativity that the people at those studios can bring to these games. Not this particular game, but other games in general. While the new challenge that we tackle with this title produced a disappointing outcome, we are certain that the games as a service approach will grow in importance as gaming becomes more service oriented. How we go about it, creating new experiences by incorporating this trend into our game design, is a key question that we will need to answer going forward. The issue with the game is to begin with the fact that it was a games as a service game. And this isn't something that people were asking for or looking for. People wanted an Avengers game that gave you an experience of playing as an Avenger or different Avengers. Not this thing that it was a pretty much let me charge you money for things game, which is technically what a games as a service is. So the fact that this game failed is not because of Crystal Dynamics and not being a good match for the Avengers franchise. It's because you greedy Square Enix decided that this title would be a great title to monetize and charge people for skins and costumes and all these other things that you thought you could charge money for. The problem is that you did not offer a good experience that will make people want to play your game and therefore spend money on your game going forward. Because there are many games that can pull this off, and the reason why they're able to pull it off is because that gameplay and the story in the game is compelling enough to stick around. But that's not what you did. The game was boring as hell. You had the same linear thing with just different settings. You fought the same enemies over and over again, just with different colors and a little harder. The story wasn't the best story. The gameplay wasn't the most fun. Oh, and yeah, the game had tons of bugs. But again, if the game is compelling enough, people will stick around with that game, even if it's buggy as hell, because they are enjoying that experience. And it's been known that people will put up with bugs in games if they're having a good time, giving that developer a little bit of leeway because of what they're getting in return. And proof that you were trying to cash in on this game from the beginning was the multitude ways of getting different skins for all the Avengers with different products attached. You could get skins from Verizon, you could get skins from some chewing gum, you could get skins from Virgin Mobile, if I'm not mistaken. It's like there was different ways that you could get skins for these characters that immediately, as someone who has been playing games for years, your antennas go up and go, hold on. There's something odd going on here. There's a lot of product tie-ins with this game, meaning that this company is trying to make a lot of money on this game before even the game comes out, and people go into a game aware of this already, and so they're looking for things that are going to be like, okay, they're trying to charge me for that, trying to charge me for that. Well, they're trying to charge me for that too. Okay, this isn't the game that I thought it was going to be, and it looks like they're going to try to make me buy a lot of crap that I don't necessarily want to buy. And players start leaving when they realize that one, you're trying to gouge them, two, the game isn't fun, three, it's just not worth it. The fact that such a huge franchise like the Avengers failed is because of you, Square Enix, not because of Crystal Dynamics. It's because Square Enix wanted to make a games as a service game. And they asked for the studio to make this game in a particular way. And again, Square Enix, you are the parent company. That means that you were watching what was happening with this game. The development of this game wasn't just happening behind, doors in a room that you had no access to. You had no clue what was happening. You knew what this game was being, and you signed off on it and said, it looks good. So shut that up and give some credit to what the studio was able to do with the pandemic and everything as you're throwing there, and take some of the blame that your greedy ass contributed to on why this game failed. Why would you do that to your studio? And if you don't like the studio so much, then sell it. Just sell it to Microsoft. They're clearly working with them on Perfect Dark. So just sell the studio if you don't like it. Get rid of it. Instead of, just blaming them for the work that they did. Be thankful that they worked as hard as they did during the pandemic in order to make this game happen, in order to get this game out the door when it went out the door on the timetable that you had put on for this game to come out. There's a lot of people that work very hard to get that done. What do you think about the comments made by Square Enix? Do you think that they are warranted? Do you think that it's screwed up that they're making this type of comments? Have you played Marvel's Avengers? Did you enjoy the game? Did you not enjoy the game? Now that the game is in Game Pass, will you give it another chance, or will you give it a chance if you never did? Let me know in the comment section. That's it for me. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It helps the channel. Go ahead and hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. And thank you very much for watching.